Protests continue on OSU's campus as international students make their voices heard about Trump's travel ban. Students tell us what Black History Month means to them, and Betsy DeVos is confirmed as Secretary of Education. This is Bullet Broadcast. Two weeks ago, President Trump signed the executive order banning refugees from 7 countries for 90 days. About a week later, a graduate student encouraged students, families, and faculty to join him at a peaceful protest on Library Lawn. We sent reporter Allie Bond to get more.
On Friday, February 3rd, the view of Library Lawn was calm and peaceful. As the time approached 4 p.m., organizers started to show up for the student-led protest named Resist Fascism OSU Rally and Demonstration, No Ban, No Wall. Jake Entrepreneur, the rally's main organizer and graduate teaching assistant at OSU, begins the event with a reminder of no violence, but encouragement to protect their rights. Quickly, he inspires and energizes the crowd.
To consider this a demonstration of our rights to gather and peacefully assemble, our rights to free speech, to a free press. You gotta fight for your right.
However, about 20 minutes into the rally, a group of unexpected visitors started to show up.
I'm a Trump supporter, and I'm trying to get these people why they're here, trying to figure out why they're protesting.
For co-organizer and student at OSU, Hillary Conan says they started this rally with one important goal in mind.
Basically, we wanted to demonstrate our unwillingness to accept fascist regulations and the banning of people from the U.S.
From the crowd with over 160 people, each side seemed to have their opinions of the other. On the left were the protesters with their signs and families, and on the right were Trump supporters with their flags and brothers, all directing their chants and insults at one another.
Not hate makes America great. Love, not hate makes America great.
As you can see, there are a lot of people gathered behind me, all encouraged to voice their opinions on multiple issues. These issues range from the immigration ban, the wall being built in between Mexico and the U.S., and even issues on the building of pipelines over communal water sources. For Leslie Rimmel, a professor at OSU, she was here for many issues, but mostly wanted one word to go into action.
I think fellowship is really important.
But for student Tyler George, his reason tonight was more environmental.
Privatization of our national parks and basically selling off our national resources to private interests.
This rally had multiple people equipped with homemade signs and personal flags, all passionate about what they've been through and for the people in their lives. However, one student in particular, Rakia Rahil, shares her gripping story of why this rally is more than just a protest for her.
I'm an Iraqi refugee. I came here when I was 10 years old, so the fact that this is trying to stop people like me from life.
But it's also a fight caused by her past in hopes to help those like her. As the rally drew to a close, each student, faculty, and member experienced something unique. With Bullet Broadcast, I'm Allie Bond.
While the protests did get heated, it stayed nonviolent. And on the subject of President Trump, let's dive into some political news. Betsy DeVos was confirmed as the Secretary of Education earlier this week. DeVos being a controversial pick for the president, the Senate had a hard time confirming her. The vote came to a 51-50, with Vice President Mike Pence making the final vote to get DeVos confirmed. In Russia, President Vladimir Putin signed a law that decriminalized certain forms of domestic violence. The law decriminalizes first-time offenders of domestic violence where the person is not seriously injured. The punishments for these first-time offenders will have a $500 fine and an arrest up to 15 days. They may also serve up to 6 months of community service. Governor Mary Fallin gave her 7th State of the State address Monday afternoon. She proposed eliminating the sales tax on groceries and modernizing the state's sales tax structure to better reflect the economic shift in the country. She also proposed eliminating the state's corporate income tax, which would help get rid of paperwork and red tape and make things easier for small business owners. Fallin also called on lawmakers to enact a permanent pay raise for teachers. In more local news, February is Black History Month, a tradition that every U.S. president since Gerald Ford in 1976 has designated as an annual celebration of Black history. Delaney Kelly met with students to ask them what Black History Month meant to them.
Last week, not only did we welcome the month of February, but we also welcomed Black History Month. I wanted to ask students if they felt that this month was important and what Black history means to them.
Black History Month for me is like a time where you get to reassure what our great leaders did in the past and it makes me want to keep the legacy on and do something great in America.
I think Black History Month is very important. I think it's also a symbol of what our culture means, for the good and for the bad. I think it's more good, especially for the minority culture.
What first began as Negro History Week was designated to the month of February in 1976. Black History Month is a time to honor, celebrate, and recognize Black achievements and the significant role African Americans played in U.S. history. All of the OSU students I spoke with seemed to be unanimous in how important they felt that this month of February was.
It's really important. I think that America and maybe OSU even doesn't really do a great job of utilizing the month that is for Black History Month. There's stuff on Twitter and there's blogs and stuff and news stuff, but I don't think it's really utilized to its full capacity to really appreciate Black excellence and everything that in our country has come from Black people. But I do think it's really important. It does personally affect me because, I have Black friends and stuff like that, but I think that it could be used to more personally affect people that aren't, of color.
I definitely think not only is it's a good time for us to acknowledge the things that Black people have done in the past, but it's also a good opportunity to educate other people about those things. So I think one of the things I like seeing the most is seeing Black orgs on campus. Try to spread that information to make other people aware, so it's more widely known.
For Bullet Broadcast, I'm Delaney Kelly.
Several organizations on campus have dedicated the month's events to honoring Black history. For a list of these events, students can visit campuslink.okstate.edu. While students on campus are getting adjusted to their new spring schedules, some students are trying to get back in the routine of going to class in the States. Reporter Johnny Resendez met with students to compare how studying abroad differs from class in the U.S. for both American and foreign students.
As young adults, college students have always had great yearning to explore countries miles away from their home. With the Study Abroad program, students now more than ever are able to not only have the access to an ideal education, but also check some personal things off their bucket list.
I think that students should study abroad because they can get an international perspective. They open themselves to different situations, they expand their horizons, so they gain more than just, actually going abroad and studying. And I think that's very important right now.
I studied at the University of Hertfordshire in Hatfield, England, and it was a pretty amazing experience. It kind of changes you to be able to see a different culture altogether, to be able to experience the way that an entire group of people live that is differently from yours, So it was pretty amazing. It wasn't as deep of a cultural shock as if I would have gone to Germany or somewhere where the language was different.
While there are many American-born students who have been benefiting from the Study Abroad program, it is a completely different spectrum for those who were not born in the United States, as Saudi Arabian native Muhammad Aline reflects on how his home away from home has impacted him.
I left my family back home for a purpose. I left my whole country for a purpose. It's to gain a degree here. I chose the major that I couldn't find back home. In Saudi Arabia, which is a fire protection and safety engineering technology. And this is what brought me here. This is why I left my family. I became more social here. I felt like they have a campus life here. They make you to be more social than anywhere else.
For the Bullet Broadcast, I'm Johnny Resendez.
Thanks, Johnny. About 70 OSU students and Stillwater residents met at Boomer Lake for a Special Olympics fundraiser last Saturday. Michael Cox has the story.
It was a windy 40 degrees on Saturday as 68 plungers braved the cold Boomer Lake waters at the Stillwater Polar Plunge. The event, organized by Law Enforcement Torch Run, raises money for Special Olympics Oklahoma. Each participant raised at least $75. Special Olympics Oklahoma Development Director Jennifer Lytle emphasized the importance of these events.
Polar Plunge is our signature fundraiser. This is it, guys. This is the biggest thing we do all year. We'll have 15 locations throughout the state, and we're hoping to raise $300,000 throughout the state. This is it. This is where the money is. This is where we raise the majority of our funds. It costs about $200 for an athlete to participate in any sport they want year-round at no cost to them.
Many Oklahoma State students from various organizations, including Greek Life and campus clubs, showed up to plunge. With some plungers raising over $1,000, Stillwater residents brave the cold water for a good cause. Some plungers participate to raise money and have fun, while others, like Oklahoma State student Lori Fitch, plunge for a personal reason.
So I plunge for my brother Brian, who is autistic and has been competing in Special Olympics for as long as I can remember. And this will be the 4th year that I plunge in the polar plunge.
At the end of the day, the event raised over $9,500 for Special Olympics Oklahoma. With Bullet Broadcast, I'm Michael Cox.
Special Olympics Oklahoma will host a few more polar plunge events this year, as well as several other fundraisers throughout the state. If you are interested in participating, more information can be found at sook.org. While several members of our community volunteer their time and money to special needs programs, one Stillwater teen has made it her passion to help others.
Claire Grace isn't your stereotypical 14-year-old. Grace is a performer. From leading an OSU opera at age 12 to competing in several beauty pageants, Grace is no stranger to the limelight. But this current Tulsa Miss Outstanding teen uses her platform not to promote herself, but volunteerism. Having volunteered over 250 hours in the last year, Grace has a heart for helping others. Grace says she does it for her sister Sarah, who has special needs.
I've seen how people with who do not have special needs can treat people with special needs. Overall, my goal is to make this world more inclusive and to think about the ability and disability and what they can do, not what they can't. So especially for my sister, since that's right at home with me.
Aside from her work with individuals, she also volunteers with hospitals as well as other volunteer opportunities like the Humane Society in Stillwater. Although Grace is busy, those who know her say her character never changes, no matter the situation.
She has, honestly, this light. She is just one of those students with a light. And I see her walk through the hallways and she spreads that light to everybody. And it's contagious.
She's a really special young lady. I think that anyone that comes in contact with her and has the time to get to know her is just kind of mesmerized by her spirit.
Anderson said Grace gives her hope for future generations.
If she is what it means to be a modern woman, I mean, I have very big hopes for the future.
Grace says she loves volunteering and the positive effect it has had on her life and encourages everyone to get involved in their community.
This world is so much bigger than yourself, and that most people think, because when I talk to my friends about community service, they kind of think, oh, community service. But community service is fun.
For Bullet Broadcast, I'm Caitlin Fuller.
Wow, she is quite an impressive young lady. As usual, we bring our broadcast to a close with Montel Vidot in his sports recap. Montel?
Thank you, Sam. Ladies and gentlemen, 2 weeks ago I made the reference to the Cowboys basketball team needing to win more now in order to have a chance to play in late March. Well, I think they got the message. After losing 6 straight, the Cowboys have finally found their identity. And if one didn't believe so beforehand, a trip to Morgantown just may have changed that. Oklahoma State made the trip east to take on 7th-ranked West Virginia. After some back-and-forth action throughout the first half, the second is when things started to get interesting. Brandon Averett was able to find Devon Dillard on the wing, who wasted no time taking it home and throwing it down on 3 Mountaineers, giving the Cowboys a 4-point lead. Didn't faze West Virginia, though, as they were able to come down and find Lamont West trailing for the 3 and the foul. Several minutes later, it was time. Phil Forte took over, scoring 9 of his 13 points in the final 5 minutes. Mix that with the late Lindy Waters 3, and there you have it. The 82-75 upset, which bolstered OSU's win streak to 5. And they could possibly continue that when the top 10 ranked Baylor Bears come to town on Wednesday night. While the basketball team is starting to find its way, the #1 ranked wrestling team in the nation is trying to keep its way, its winning ways. The Cowboys were on the road this past weekend, first taking on Edinburgh on Friday where they won 24-12, and then making way to Kent, Ohio on Saturday to finish the sweep and get the 36-3 victory. Up next, the final weekend is just ahead for the Cowboys, where they will be at home taking on Wyoming on Friday and finishing it off with Bedlam on Saturday before the NWCA Bowl Series the following weekend. The Wrestlers are looking to close out a historic season and continue their success into the NCAA championships. And while their season just may be coming to an end, OSU softballs is just around the corner. The Cowgirls are projected to finish 4th in the Big 12, its highest preseason ranking since 2015. They'll be taking on McNeese State, followed by LSU on Friday, and look to start the season off right. Well, that is it for me today, guys. Be sure to catch me next week on Bullet Broadcast. Sam?
That's it for this week. For Bullet Broadcast, I'm Sam Stockard. See you next week.